I knew that was gonna happen.
Damn it.
We were gonna have this grand entrance back. You know what? Screw it. We're still gonna come back in the way that we planned and cut.
Yeah.
Oh hey guys, you're back, and as are we as well. What's this?
Testing
Get it off! It's a microphone, and we're testing it out. And you'll find that in the next half of this phase of podcast episodes, we're going to be trying different things out with audio that will hopefully sound much better than they were in the first half. Because, believe me, there were some problematic episodes where I was banging my head against the brick wall and I was like, why did I do that? And
the curse of audio.
Yeah, so hopefully today this is going to sound good, and we're going to try and deliver the best quality we can possibly can over time. Speaking of time, it's me time.
Episode 14.
Wow. We're so back. We're so back, and we're so ready. Gosh, my brain froze there for a second. Yeah, it's going to be difficult to get back into the flow of things, but I reckon we're ready to go. Today we're going to be talking on a brand new agenda about cinema. Now, there was one thing that I wanted to do before we got going with our agenda today, Elliot, our episode of cinema. So as you know, and a couple of you know that I've spoken to, happy birthday. Can you imagine?
Wait, what?
Wait a minute. One big thing that I enjoy about cinema is you go for the experience of maybe books and comics recreated on screen as well, animated features. So I've been to Comic-Con recently, you know, insert photo down there. And I thought, as a bit of a celebration to come back into me time, before we properly get going with our agendas, is me and Elliot Elliot and I can do something very special for you for the podcast. So stay right there.
It's a bigger box.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
For the first Me Time episode back, me and Elliot and I will be opening a mystery Comic-Con loot crate box.
Oh, we saw these last time.
Yeah. Marvel and I'll put it up to the camera so everyone can see. This is a mystery bag for Marvel and DC. So I thought it would be good for us to open this together and just have a brief talk about some of the things that we find inside. Okay. You know? You ready?
Yeah, conversation
conversation starters. And I don't know. I haven't had a peek. So I have absolutely zero idea what's going to be in this bag.
So
this is it, huh? So stay tuned. All you Comic-Con fans, I know you probably opened yours by now, but I've waited 2 weeks since Comic-Con to open this. So don't spoil this for me. Right. Let's do this, boy.
Let's have a look.
Let's go. Right. Oh, it's a cardboard box.
It's a little box.
Oh gosh.
Box.
I love this.
Yeah.
Fly! That was a very gallant throw. Oh gosh.
Always come prepared.
Good man! He's got a knife!
Yeah. Here it is.
You got it.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I almost
Ready?
had it, but yeah, I'm ready when you are.
Nice.
Oh shit. Careful with the loot on the side. So let's have a
Here it
look,
is.
shall we? Ooh. Yo. Okay, so what it appears to be, that's not Martian Manhunter, is it? No, that's Marvel. So who is this guy? I don't know. It's a nice figurine. I'm going to leave him down here. What else we got? Oh, we can't talk about this guy again.
Oh.
Insert to episode 9 of Me Time, the Joker pin. I mean, we can talk about him a little bit. A Spider-Man suitcase.
Suitcase.
Pencil case. Oh, what else? Ooh.
Black Adam.
Spider-Man fridge magnets. What's that?
Black Adam.
Oh, I'm not talking about
Yeah, I know.
Black Madam.
Yeah.
Oh, Oh my gosh.
Hey.
I get an actual novel. X-Men Mutant Massacre Part 2. Insert a link to episode 7 of Me Time. When we talk about Phase 6, because that's a delightful direction.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Let's have a look at this figure here. Because I don't know who he is.
Yes,
I think it would be quite interesting to talk about him. That's
it's Jackson.
Oh, it's Drax.
Yeah.
See, from the exterior, his skin was green. You know what? I do want to talk about that, actually. I do want to talk about Guardians of the Galaxy, because we didn't really speak about that much.
No.
And that relates to my experience of cinema, and something that can bring us into the topic today. That's a very cool figure.
Yeah.
Drax, yeah. I like that. Have a look at that. That's really cool, huh?
That is nice. Yeah,
right?
Yeah, no.
So we will leave these here.
Is it bad to say that this bloke looks more focused than Dave Bautista?
What do you mean?
It's just the chin looks more focused than Dave Bautista.
Oh, well, yeah, you can design
it's just like...
yeah. Love it. That's great. So, the title of today's episode is us reflecting on our experience of film and cinema. We'll go more specific with experiences in the future episodes, in episode 15 and episode 16. But today we're going to have a general look, and we'll talk about Drax. I'll talk about Drax because when I started really getting into my cinema experiences, I had a bit of a lens into it, like a mainstream lens. I viewed as the big trailers, big trailers and the big money and the more known things, there'd be better movies. So I was a big Transformers fan, as I will get into this because it is one of my guilty pleasures. I was a child that grew up watching Transformers, Revenge of the Fallen, and Dark of the Moon. So naturally, when the film Guardians of the Galaxy came around the same time as Transformers 4, I remember having to sit down and decide which one I wanted to see. And without too much of a thought, I decided ultimately I wanted to go see Transformers 4 because I thought Guardians of the Galaxy would be boring.
Yeah.
Now, I remember because I went to go see Transformers 4 with you. Mm-hmm. You remember that? What was your take on Transformers 4, mate?
Wasn't it? We'd seen the current 3, and we're like, oh yeah, the 3 movies were awesome. And I think the 4th, if I remember correctly, was like sort of became oversaturated a bit.
It did.
Yeah.
For me, what I will continue to talk about with Guardians of the Galaxy, Transformers 4 massively failed at for me was what it attempted to promise, which was the Dinobots. So, I mean, come on. A big metal dinosaur that transforms. Of course I was going to watch that. I'm a big Transformers fan anyway, if you didn't know that already. I will hopefully get the chance to talk about Transformers in the future.
Please, let me, please.
And I just thought that the whole blockbuster experience of the first 3 films wasn't perfect. Like, the plot wasn't amazing, let's be honest. I was there for the big fights and the big CGI, not slop, many people call it. I just thought it was
a slop then.
Yeah.
It was like proper CGI then.
You know, it was real focused. Like, I remember reading somewhere that Devastator in Transformers 2 was so hyper detailed that every time a CGI animator had to bring him in to a computer in real time, it would just destroy the hardware. Yeah. It was so detailed that it was just unreal. And it shows in the movie. Devastator looked absolutely fantastic. So I loved the design. I loved getting introduced to new characters. I loved the warfare of it all, the big space robots fighting on planet Earth with all of the super secrets. And the stakes were high in the third one as well. The second one was I was more interested in the lore of the primes. And in the third one, it was just intergalactic warfare. And I just found the whole... I am an anime fan as well, so I was like, big fights. Yeah, let's go. But Transformers 4 took a step back, relied too heavily on the promotional material, and started to focus on the story when the story was the weakest part of it. It always has been. So when it came to the fights, by that time, I was exhausted. And all of the characters that had been established so far in terms of the human cast, I didn't care about. And it just wasn't worth it. Which I thought Guardians of the Galaxy was going to be a case of as well. When I looked at the poster, I was just like, and I looked at the trailer, which was done very well in hindsight. I was like, I'm not blown away by this. These are characters. I don't know who they are. I don't care. It doesn't look like there's much fighting. It looks like it's a really boring plot line. We're people out in outer space that are going to save the galaxy. We're basically just the Space Avengers.
I think what a lot of just general sort of space movies suffer with is even though the stakes are high, because they're not affecting the ground or Earth. You don't feel the stakes as high.
Yeah,
it doesn't feel as real to a degree. I think because every battle previously was on Earth, so you kind of felt you saw that building go down, and you're there again. God, there's people in there because you can see it. You see people reacting, or there's cars blowing up, and you kind of recognise the street from other films, or there seems to be more interaction with the environment that you're there again. I can relate to that.
Yes. That's good.
And then sort of the space battles and anything, and any film outside of that seems to follow that sort of pattern. Like you can't quite grasp the concept of like, oh, this moon's blown up, but I don't know what that really does. I mean, that does because it's like miles away. They go, oh, okay.
That's a good take. That's a good way of looking at it, because again, with the Transformers films, it was a MacGuffin. It was the MacGuffins I was interested in, which I am now in later narrative as a big fan of that, not interested in. So the first one being the Allspark.
Yeah.
And the Allspark was conveniently created underneath Hoover Dam. And I was like, oh, cool, that explains like what that thing is in real life.
Yeah.
And then in the second one, it was the pyramids. And I was like, whoa, the pyramids were part of their external alien warfare.
What they call it, the suspension of disbelief, where like something seems just real enough that you can grasp it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the third one, the other side of the moon. Yeah. Basically, the moon that it says. So I was. It gives an integral superstition.
Yeah.
And human curiosity, and it uses that as fuel because it can.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting just because it is. It doesn't go into hyper detail and say, this explains why the pyramids were this, or this explains why the moon was that. It was just like a spaceship lands on the other side of the moon, there's Transformers in it. Yeah. And that's enough for me to be hooked. So like, yo! And then the fourth movie, I was just like, what? Because the fact there was that they've been around as long as dinosaurs. They caused the dinosaurs to be extinct, and then the Transformers that were dinosaurs later in the movie had nothing to do with that. And then there was this thing called the Seed, which which was used to blow up the dinosaurs, but had nothing to do with them as well. So even though it was a movie that was supposed to be about dinosaurs, it wasn't about dinosaurs. And then the fifth movie.
What was the fifth movie? Did I watch the fifth movie?
You didn't watch the fifth movie with me.
I think I clocked out.
I went to watch that in London with some of my friends. You know them both. And we walked out of that theatre, and I was a big Transformers fan. I mean, we all were, but we all walked out of that theatre absolutely just
disappointed. So disappointed. There was too many things going on, and
I think guilty pleasure in regards to Transformers films was the one with Mark Wahlberg.
Mm.
I think again because he's just a handyman, just sort of like mechanic sort of thing.
I get that.
I like that.
Yeah, when things relate to you.
Yeah,
I
know.
that.
Yeah.
For me, this is a bit of a weird take. I promise I'm getting back to you, Drax. I promise I am going to get back to you because you are important, because you are what redefined my experience of cinema. I would say my guilty pleasure of the fourth film would be the PTSD Optimus Prime.
Oh, yes.
Now, I essentially, as a child, had many, as I'm sure you did as well, had many like heroes. You know, you look up to certain real life celebrities, real life, like the famous influential people as well.
I don't think I do actually these days. It's kind of weird. No,
as a child.
No, I never did.
You never did.
I was always looking at films as like a focal points, like who I was going to focus on, sort of thing. It was weird. Like I remember growing up on like the Power Rangers and all that type of stuff. Like that's kind of real life, and then going up on various other sort of films, and you're going, I think was it Disney's Robin Hood? They going, oh, he's cool, and then the focal point just switches to sort of Robin Hood for like a time. I don't think I've ever looked at a celebrity or like someone really kind of go, yeah, you're cool. It's kind of weird.
It wasn't necessarily that. It's I think if we're being honest, I think Keanu Reeves is an absolute gem.
Exactly.
He is he's a massive inspiration to me. And another one of my inspirations, two other inspirations that are very beneficial to this is Stan Lee and Peter Cullen. And Stan Lee being the creator and the absolute brilliant mastermind of Marvel. The advice that he gave about stories and the cinematic experience as well. Like, just keep going. If you've got a good idea, don't let others shut it down. Keep going. And that was what started Spider-Man all the way back when. I'm not even going to bother talking about that because it's a very famous story.
Even Daredevil.
You know? Yeah.
I saw an interview of Stan Lee in Daredevil when he was there going, he's like, I want to do something really unique. I want to create a blind superhero. And his thought at the time was there going, crap, I'm going to offend the blind people if I do this. But he went, sorry, I'm gonna publish it anyway. So he did. And then all the guys who were blind apparently sent in fan mail and went, thank you for this. This is awesome sort of thing. Like, because they can sort of like, even though some of what Daredevil can't do, just the fact that it's just so cool. Yeah. It's like, this is awesome. Although saying that some of the stuff that Daredevil can do, some blind people can do, they can, okay, that's kind of cool as well.
Yeah. And it is so fun when people can get lost in these things, which is what I like a lot about cinema, which is why I prefer it to TV series. Not to say that I don't like TV series. I mean, for goodness sake, Elliott and I spoke about 2 TV series as the agendas, like, so far. So, but I just got to say, I prefer cinema. It is an excuse to just get yourself lost.
Yes, yeah.
Just to immerse yourself in a brand new world with brand new characters. And that's why I don't want to move on from the fact that I said Peter Cullen is another one of my inspirations. Because going back to Optimus Prime, who was not anything quite like what I perceived as a leader so far. A leader is supposed to be, and was supposed to be, the mastermind. Like, I am powerful, I am strong, you do this, you do this. Or the melodramatic king just being like, this is my kingdom and I will rule over blah, blah, blah. But here comes Optimus Prime. He looks absolutely badass and he speaks very softly. And he's very gentle. And you'd expect something so tall and monstrous to just be like back away, human. But he's almost just like, no, we do not harm humans. Yeah. Freedom is the right of all sentient beings. And as a kid, I was like, you're so cool.
Yeah. No, it's the screen presence he has is like is that okay, that's awesome. Like the speeches at the end, that like rounds up the film was like, oh yeah, like that's cool. Like Linkin Park sign up, you're there going, I know what's coming. This is great. Let's go.
I love the speeches so much, so much.
I think
My name is Optimus Prime, and I send this message to any Autobot seeking refuge out there in the stars.
Yeah.
We are here. We are waiting. If that sounds really cool on the microphone, I'm actually gonna. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think I guess he kind of holds the screen, holds his presence, and rather than being overly strong all the time, he's very strategic. Like he knows who his Autobots are and how he can use them.
But that's it, you know, and to not be afraid to represent a character in the way that you want to and stick by that as well. Cullen is a man of authenticity and nostalgia, but also honor. Which is why, again, another one of my quotes, arguably in one of Optimus Prime's, not arguably, in one of Optimus Prime's most violent, murderous movies, which completely contradicts his character.
Yeah.
I love the way that he said, honor till the end. I'm like, yo! It's like, I mean, going back to the PTSD of Optimus in that movie, it just shows that, for me, anyone can be broken. It doesn't matter how, just like, I am a leader, I know what I'm doing, and I'm fierce when I need to be. It's enough to break anyone. You go through a bad experience.
There's a quote that I see that I just keep going back to. This is not movies related, but it's sort of, it sticks a bit, where it's like, you're better broken. And they're going, yeah, I can see that.
You're better after learning how to
you've got
fix
to learn,
yourself.
You've got to learn how to
once
do
you're
it.
broken,
Yeah. Like, it's kind of like scar tissue, maybe, where like you've been broken, but once you sort of sort yourself out, you're kind of in a better position. You're kind of stronger for it, sort of thing.
I'd say that. And when you're broken, you become someone different.
Yeah.
So, which is why Prime in that movie was a broken Autobot, and he became very different. Like, I'm happy to unalive people now. I was like, okay, what? And then in Peter Cullen behind the scenes, he was also just like, no.
Oh, was it?
Peter Cullen behind the scenes, when Michael Bay said, like, I'm not going to say the word, but he said to Michael, like, he said to Peter, say, I'm going to unalive you. And Peter's just like, no, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that. That's not Optimus Prime. I think eventually they did compromise, because Optimus Prime does ultimately say it in the movie. He does scream, I'll unalive you, as he's jumping from Decepticon to Decepticon, slashing them and ripping them apart. I was like, he's laying out his anger, but he's just doing it in a very violent way. And Optimus Prime has unalived many, many Decepticons before, but only when he feels like he has to. He's pushed to his limits, which is why his conflict with Megatron goes on and on and on, because he still doesn't have the spark to defeat Megatron, to put him out, to take his life.
I haven't seen it yet, but I do want to look at the Transformers soft reboot sort of thing, where they kind of give you the backstory of like Megatron and
Transformers 1.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh.
Apparently, like, I looked at the film originally, went, I'm not quite sure about it, and I've heard reviews and they're going, actually, I want to give that a watch.
But this is perfect, because then this comes back to the thing about cinema that that is my absolute woe. It's the advertising. Going back to Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I didn't believe that the trailer for the first Guardians of the Galaxy was like all that. It became across as very anti-hero, and
it's sort of very like James Gunn goofy.
Yeah, very goofy, just like ha ha ha, jokey, burr 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 burr, you know. And I was like, I don't want to watch this. And I mean, obviously, there were comic fans that did like the Guardians of the Galaxy. that would know who these characters are. But up till then, I had no idea who they were. The likes of Spider-Man, Iron Man, Hulk, and Captain America, of course I did. I knew a lot about them as a kid. But then I went to go see it because then everyone was just saying, no, give it a chance. Really, go and watch it. It's good. And I was blown away. It wasn't the trailer that did that. If I watched it on TV, I guarantee my opinion would have been so much different. It was the big surround sound music of all of the music from the 70s, and the different characterization as well, the core elements of loss and grief, and just the breakdown of all of the direction things were going for the rest of the Infinity Saga at the time. Thanos was in the movie. I lost my mind.
Yeah.
I was just like, I didn't know you'd be in this movie. Oh my gosh, you're here. Here you are. And set up for the next couple of movies as well. I was just, I fell in love with the characters. So going back to Transformers 1, the advertising of that, and we've done nothing but speak about Transformers for the last 20 minutes. No, I'm saying I will. But like going on to Transformers 1, I watched the trailer and I was massively disappointed. I thought it looked naff. They're turning Megatron into a really goofy character, Optimus into just like a hipster youth, and Elita 1 was, I mean, I never really liked Elita 1's character anyway, because she was just in the old series, she was just the female equivalent of Optimus Prime and his love interest, basically, kind of unofficially, because Transformers kind of they're not romantical. And then Bumblebee, don't even get me started on Bumblebee. I was like, oh, let's make Bumblebee really funny. Let's get him cracking jokes and call himself Badassatron, because that's really funny. That'll make the kids laugh. It didn't. It didn't make me laugh, believe it or not. But the absolute worst of it was I watched the movie. I watched it, and I was just like, I'm a Transformers fan. I will go and watch it, and I left that cinema almost crying. Almost. As it touched my heart as a Transformers fan. It's probably the best swan song to fans of old and new. I think ever. And that's such a shame. It is such a shame that because the movie did so poorly because of its promotional material and its advertising, Hasbro have announced that they will no longer be doing Transformers movies. And I am heartbroken because that movie was just fantastic. It did change a few things about the lore. It did. That being said, it still worked. I still found myself liking it.
I remember the promotional material being like, oh, it's funny all the time, sort of thing, and then you heard the reviews coming out of it. They're going, oh no, they hit some proper sort of lawyer. They're going, oh, okay.
The downfall of Megatron, and I've spoken about this before. I enjoy watching characters who were once villains turn into heroes, but also the other way around. I enjoy watching a hero falling from grace and into darkness and becoming the villain. And Megatron's downfall in this movie, his transformation from what was his name? D something like that. D8. I don't know. I only see him as Megatron. But his downfall it makes sense. It's not rushed in the slightest, and I won't spoil it for you. But there's one line. It's a kids' movie, and there's one line where it just shook me to my absolute core when he's having a bit of a verbal confrontation with Optimus, and Optimus is just like, "Don't you want to bring this thing to justice? Don't you want to do it?" And then Megatron just turns around and screams at him. He's like, "No, I want to unlive it all." And I'm like, "Wow, wow!" He just dropped the K word in front of the cinema full of kids. Wow. Whoa! I was like, yeah. See, this is it. When cinema directors are bold and brave and just go with what they want to do. When I'm in the theatre, I'm just like, oh, I love this. I love this. I always want to look around at everyone else and go, did you guys see that?
Yeah.
That's what I love about it. A TV show, I'm just sat here alone on the sofa. I'm just like, did you guys see? Oh,
Yeah.
no, you didn't. And I have to wait until I talk about them with people. It's different when you and I sit down and watch something.
Yeah.
But when you're in cinema, you're never alone. You're never alone. And I like it. I like sharing in the experience. The atmosphere is just love it.
Yeah, they're great films.
Indeed. Well, that sends my little all that talk spawned from just this figurine here. You know, that's mad. That's so good. I'm not talking about Black Adam. I've spoken at what we don't have to talk about Spider-Man. We've spoken about Marvel enough.
Yeah.
I want to get into the other stuff that we wanted to talk about, and some other films that we think reflect a lot of our.
I was driving down and I was like, "Oh, crap, what a list of films like you go through," and they're going, "There's quite a few." I was like, "Oh, okay." I don't think we got an agenda that we plan on, and they're going, "There's one film there," and they're going, "Oh, I can bounce off that one." I can. Oh, there's another one there.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we it's funny. Film that I love has done really well is a House Train Dragon.
Yes, mate. Over to you.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's funny. I didn't even when I first saw the trailer and trailer and advertisements for it. I don't think I actually saw the first film. I think I saw the first film on the plane somewhere.
Oh, really?
I don't think I actually saw the first film. And it was kind of interesting because I think after seeing it, you kind of again, because you could look at the cartoon and kind of just take it at face value as a cartoon. The writing where it kind of really hits. Like you kind of see Hiccup. You kind of like Hiccup's evolution through all three films is so subtle and so clever. Like starting off so timid, and then having to sort of embrace everything that people are telling him he shouldn't be embracing.
Yeah,
and then
going against the flow.
Yeah, and then but also standing up for what he also thinks is right, even if that comes at a cost. But even towards the end where like his dad's gone and he's now leading this tribe of people, and the weight of the decisions he's making in regards to like, I don't want to lose people, but I have to make these tough decisions. I want to do what's best for my Viking colony, maybe is the best way to describe it. But seeing him sort of act so sort of stoic in those moments is like, even like stoic in regards to like like his dad, but like in the general formula where like seeing him act stoic in regards to the situations he comes across. Even when Hiccup turns on him, like they're going, "Oh, we didn't expect this before." But knowing his sort of friend so well that even when he's turning on him, is they going, "I know how to break you out of this, and I will do it because I know who you are." Sort of thing. It's like, okay, this is decent. But yeah, it's sort of, I would say it's underrated in the fact that the way it's animated doesn't do justice. I don't know. Like you look at anime, they're going, the art is so sort of detailed and so sort of well done. Here they're going, if they just brought a little bit of sort of more detail into the way Hiccup was sort of drawn or animated in regards to how the light pops off the screen, sort of thing, be so cool.
Yeah. I'd say they've put a lot of focus into the design of the world and the dragons themselves, which does add a lot of flavour and a lot of life into a film that has to have a comical charm to appeal to the child demographic as well, because it did cater to it very well. So, like,
for sure.
It's a very grown-up story, and I find they can tell these themes in a TV show, but it can wash away. Because a TV show, I believe, is designed to tell a longer story and focus on more characters and the specific story in itself. A film, which is finite and can only really be a maximum of 3 hours, but for children shouldn't necessarily surpass 2 hours, depending on the modern attention span. But back then, the attention span was quite different. And for How to Train Your Dragon to have the first film be a story about a child who finds their calling and goes against the tradition of his family. And in the end, his family, because his family love him, push a tradition aside, essentially, and go, like, you finding yourself has taught us how to find ourselves as well.
Yeah, I want to put a caveat in that though slightly, because there's always this sort of that you could take it at face value and go, just push against it because you can, because it's rebellious sort of thing. I would say that
there are consequences for that with Hiccup.
Well, yeah, there's consequences for it generally, but at the same time, over the course of films, his thoughts are proven correct, and so they have to kind of go, okay, if he's correct, maybe we do need to change.
Yeah,
they've got evidence to then go, okay, now we can change, sort of thing. Like if you're just being rebellious for the sake of being rebellious, you're going nowhere, sort of thing. But the fact that he has a cause, there's foundation behind it. There's proof that he can then project onto everybody else. That's what's more, that's what's more sort of fulfilling about those films. They're going, he's right, he's going against the grain, but there's proof and foundation as to why he's going against the grain. As again, okay, I understand that.
Yeah. And for me, my little thing with those movies, for me as a person, I like watching people succeed. People that I care about succeed.
The underdog. Yeah.
Thank you. I was definitely going to say that. I was coming to that.
Yeah,
the underdog. I love watching the underdog succeed. And in the first movie, he was very much the definition of that. And it's just, it had such a personal effect on me. My first time watching the first movie was in this room, on this sofa, with that television screen over there that you guys can't see. It was phenomenal. And like, he had such an effect on everyone around him. I just thought, because me as a person, obviously I don't want to turn the movie off and just go like, I'm going to go out and find a dragon and train them as well. That's not what it's about. It's like, I'm going to go out and I'm going to do the things that I enjoy to inspire others, and as well, which is like, I'm all of my creative things as well, and all of the careers that I've done as well. I've only ever done it. Yes, you've ultimately got to do it for yourself, which is what the second movie was about. Yeah. He was so focused on like losing himself and taking himself away from responsibility and just being the man in the clouds and just trying to set the next bar, that he had to, in the end, accept that there were some responsibilities he couldn't avoid. And it did, very brave of the writer to have that represented as the loss of his father.
Yeah.
Which was, wow, talk about powerful writing. Hiccup, because you neglected your duties, you've caused a battle which ultimately ended with your father sacrificing himself to save you. I was like, did they really just do this?
Yeah.
Is Stoic actually unalived right now? In the movie theatre, I was like, oh, I was shocked.
That scene was so
I was
emotional.
absolutely shocked for 15 minutes or so. Until the final battle scene, I think. I was just like... And then the final battle was going, like, right, snap out of it, Matt. Snap out of it. Watch.
Yeah.
I just have such a love for characters that have such a heart of gold, and all they ever want to do is soar, which is what he did. It wasn't metaphorical on the screen. It is a metaphor, but it was represented through dragon flight, through soaring through the skies to new heights, achieving new things. And if I can, at all, in my life, achieve that sort of ability with my wants and desires as in my creative my love for the creative flair, with any of my projects, any of my stories, if I could soar in the sky for even 5 minutes and inspire someone else to do the same, then
oh yeah,
you know. And this is just one of many tales of a cinema experience that just reflected me, you know.
I think what cinema's great is like they have, depending on what stories they're telling, but on some stories they've always got like these people behind the scenes who experience certain things. So you're not just seeing writing for the sake of writing to a degree.
No.
Sometimes you're seeing writing through someone else's experience. It may not be the writer's experience, but they may have someone who's got knowledge in that sector. And they're there to tell the writer that, oh, you could use this emotion or this emotion, and that you could solve this problem by doing this. They're like a lot of cinema are sort of like human emotion and human problem solving put on the screen. May not be real, but some of the emotional sort of struggles are. That's the sort of cool bit I kind of find.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's not a real story sometimes, but the emotional struggles that characters go through are, even if it's a real story or not. But even if you look at like sort of films based on true events sort of thing, all of that's real to a degree. Like there's some creative flair put in there to sort of embellish the story just slightly, but the experience they're having, the emotions they're having, that's all real. So like to just see how they come out of that certain problem at the end of that film, they're going, that's so cool.
Yeah. And it's in these small moments, it's when a film is done right that I just, for those moments, just lose myself. If you can, for 2 hours, get lost in a film and root for a character from start to finish, then the film has ultimately done its job. You know, if you can't, if that's not the case, then the film hasn't necessarily done its job. It's focused on the things that it shouldn't be focusing on. But unfortunately, it's a day and an age of money making, where that seems to be the preferred stratagem. Which is, I mean, I get it. We've got to have money. We've got to make money to make a living. But it just, we'll get into that on a future episode, because that is another topic altogether. Touching your knee there, that was very provocative.
Yeah.
But we're focusing on the things that we like about cinema for now.
I think, yeah, as I was driving in, I saw there going, there's an awesome film that's not on subject, but we'll go for it. It's Good Will Hunting. Good Will Hunting is such a good film. It's just sort of like,
How'd you like them apples?
yeah, it's just, I love it. So Robert Williams is so great in that film. Like, I mean, he's good in a few others that I can't remember all the names of. But every film he has, there's a focal point to it.
He's a hero.
Like in Good Will Hunting, it's like you can read and study what you like. If you haven't experienced anything, there's nothing. It's like, that's so cool. Like, you know, experience all the small moments. So even in like real life, sort of like experience meeting a girl for the first time, experience meeting someone new for the first time. What does that feel like? What does, you know, how nervous are you? Are you tongue tied when you meet this person?
Yeah.
Are you not? And just seeing Will try and navigate his own issues, and seeing Robin Williams kind of navigate. Oh, hang on, how do I word it? Navigate it for him, sort of thing, and then you sort of see Will kind of comes to that sort of final sort of like, yeah, I'm struggling, and then he's there waiting for him to sort of go, I'm here, I'm listening, keep on talking, experience this sort of thing, which is, I love that. I love that film, and it's an old film, but it's one of those sort of messages that you can walk away from that film and you can take it for life. I can't remember the other film that sticks in my head as well. But he's like I think it's based on a true story, which is even greater. Where I can't remember what he is. I think is it.
Describe the story.
If he's studying as a doctor, and he's going to medical school, but his treatment isn't treating people. I mean, it's treating people, but it's not treating people in the conventional way. He treats people and making sure that they're happy. It's like that's
no, I haven't heard of that one.
Yeah, no, it's so interesting. So like he's in this lecture of this medical lecture, and he's there going, and I can't remember what it is exactly. And I remember his character speaks up to lecture and kind of goes, "What about if you do this?" And lecturer goes, "You do." Wait, hang on. But there's no medicine being given. There's no pills being given. It's like, yeah, I know, but it improves their life. That makes them happy, sort of thing. It's like, no, just give them pills, sort of thing.
I see.
No,
I haven't heard of that.
Yeah, and what's great is that's real. Someone pushed back at the time and went, nah, forget the corporate sort of like got to feed them pills because they're ill sort of thing. Now, granted that all that's all good, all good and fine, and is a good practice.
Yeah.
But there's more to human life than what you just see on the paper. That's what that film sort of describes. They're going, that's clever. And like the ending of the film is also, I'm not going to spoil it as you haven't seen it, but like the ending of the film, the conclusion it comes to is awesome. Like it solves two issues at the same time in such a sort of clever way that you kind of go, that's how you do it, sort of thing. It's realistic, but at the same time, it works. You're there going, okay, because it happened in the real. It happened in the real world.
Yeah,
it's like that's so cool.
Yeah, and I like that, and I'll go on a direction of my films. It's just the sort of films that I like. Again, we've got the underdog films. I do love an animated film. It reflects a director's style and the lens of color and shapes and form and direction that they've visualized in their heads, and it introduces to me a whole new way of thinking and a whole different world. And I either like it or I don't, but I can really fall into an animated film because it is the creation of something new. But going off of what you have said, I like a film with meaning, with deep morals and things that really make you think.
Yeah.
And one of those elements is an element and a moral of justice. What justice looks like. Now, we've spoken about this in the Dark Knight trilogy agenda, out now, popping on this side of the screen. Up there it is. Hey, look, there's a little information box. Go click that and watch the episode so far. And when there's the fine line, when you think there is a form of justice, and when this justice becomes injustice, or justice is, and a film that I watched for the first time with my dad. It wasn't in the cinema, and I really, if I could go back in time and watch this movie in the cinema, I would. It's called The Shawshank Redemption.
Oh yeah,
you've seen it.
I've seen it. Yeah,
it's probably
recall the scenes now.
Probably, and it's really difficult for me to have a favorite film. But if someone said like you have to, you won't be able to leave this room without giving me an answer, that would be it. It would be The Shawshank Redemption. I think it's a perfect film. I think
Mm.
it throws us right into the deep end straight away with a character that we can't prove didn't do anything wrong. You know,
Yeah.
he's convicted of a crime of murder,
Yeah.
and we see a scene at the start, and they neither confirm or deny that Andy Dufresne committed murder. You're okay, so, and then we're introduced to this man throughout the film in the prison around loads of other crooks, but you don't know what any of the crooks and the criminals did to get there, apart from the main character. So you see these criminals as human. And I thought, wow, that's really different way of looking at it. Because if we found out what their convicted crimes were, like murderer, hit and run, robbed a bank, we'd just be like, oh yeah, but they've made mistakes, they're nasty men, they're arseholes, you know. But we go in with only one person in particular. The only one that we're given a reason as to why they're there is the main character.
Yeah.
And throughout the entire film, when we bond with all of these, the nice things that this man tries to do for his friends in the prison and exploit the system to make the prison a better place, the one point where we feel like he's about to get rewarded for all of the fruits of his labour, when we find out he's innocent. When we find out that it was he was planning to, then he just dropped the gun in the river and went home, and some random crook robbed the house instead and let Andy take the fall. What does the prison do? They spin it around in his head and go, no, you've been exploiting the system, but don't think for a second we're going to let you leave, because we own you now, basically. We own you, and in our eyes you will always be you'll never be innocent. And I was just like, oh, not only are we now seeing the prisoners as the good guys, we're seeing the warden and the officers and the guards and the government as the bad guys. And I was like, there's so many, wow, what's going on?
So many questions.
So many. And I won't spoil it. For any of you that have not seen this movie, I beg you, watch it. I haven't spoiled, I mean, it's a minor spoiler, but from the way that Andy Dufresne is throughout the entire movie, and the way that Morgan Freeman narrates the movie, he goes, the first time that I met Andy Dufresne, like, you know, I never thought of why he would be in here. He didn't look like he could have committed that crime. And you're supposed to believe, like, he's such a nice guy. How could someone that nice commit a crime? Simple answer, he didn't. What happens towards the end of the film is the biggest form of justice in a film that I think I've ever seen. And it put me on a massive high. When a character gets their big rewards and in the best possible way, and all of the characters that have done wrong get their comeuppance, as an audience member, I can't help but go, I really care about these worlds. That it's just pure fiction, but I really care about them. And I love getting lost in it, and I love rooting for them for that split second. A part of myself has been, well, all of myself is drawn away and sucked into this world. But a part of myself is just like, oh, go on, please. I want that victory for you. Because it's just so lovely to see that form of justice and those morals pay off. And the lesson at the end is like, there is a happy ending. If you keep pushing through, if you stick to your smarts and stick to the people that you know and that you trust, life gives you a happy ending through all of the darkness. And it's so lovely. Look, in this day and age, a happy ending and life is really to and fro. You know, it's so difficult, but I don't get into that in the podcast. I get into the moments you can escape from that briefly, and that's through film. I just think it's just a perfect bubble for that sort of thing. You know,
sort of switch off. It's like, okay, switch off. I just watch it sort of integrated, sort of sort of just focus on that sort of thing. Quite nice.
Switch off from the outside world. They don't do that in View anymore, do they? They don't have the voice going. It's like, hello.
No,
A little bit
Mark
dark.
Strong.
No, it's
John Boyega, isn't it?
No, it used to be John Boyega. It used to be that really stupidly long video at the start when he is just like, "Oh, get off your phones and watch the movie." It used to always be 5 minutes of him walking around, and I was just like, "Get on with it, man."
Yeah.
And now it's just a bullet point list at the start, and they just get on with it. I'm like, yes. Can we talk about Sonic the Hedgehog 3, please?
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
Because that was one of our recent ones, and I think that's great. Two men, 26 years old, and we're going to watch a film about Sonic the Hedgehog.
Working on it. Work in progress.
What do you mean?
Couldn't quite call myself a man yet. I'm still working in
Oh,
progress.
okay, gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
No. I get what you mean. But now look. It. Well, I don't even know where to start with this because, again, you get TV series that try to recapture the beauty of nostalgia, and that's such a sacred and trusted thing to use, and it's real. It's like it is a real chemical. We don't name the chemical reaction nostalgia, but we do get positive chemical reactions from experiencing nostalgia. It is a real thing. And this is why with like Transformers movies, for example, it takes me back to my days of loving Transformers. With Sonic, I played all of the video games as a kid. So to hear that they were recreating them as movies, so therefore, if it was a TV series, then they could tell a really, really long story, but that, in my eyes, could be problematic because they have almost too much time to do something, and it's not going to impress people. They're going to have to completely recreate a story, but with films, it condenses it down slightly, and it reduces their options, so they have to take from, if we're going on nostalgia, they have slim pickings for the things that they want to treat fans with, and on top of that, weaving it into a story that works, which is where Sonic 3, in my eyes, did it incredibly well. You know? We were both there for Shadow.
Oh, yeah.
Why?
No, I mean,
Why were you there for Shadow?
So I've got no experience with the games. That's a lie. I've got no experience with the Sonic games themselves, but I do have experience with the Shadow game on my PS2. I don't know why I had it. I just remember playing it and then going, okay, Shadow's a good character sort of thing. Then I heard Keanu was playing it. We'd seen the previous films already as again. Yeah, it's a done deal. Keanu's playing it. Yeah.
I love that. I like a character who is dark, but also has so many genuine traits to them as well. Like the facade drops, and you know that you're inside, you're hurting, and there's you don't use that grief to weigh you down and burn you. You hold it tight, and this is a quote from Doctor Who here. I love it. I tell you what you do with that grief. You hold it tight, and you tell yourself, no one else will ever have to feel this or experience this pain, not on my watch. Love that quote from Doctor Who.
Yeah.
So what, I've experienced so much grief and pain, I'm going to use that to fuel me to make sure others don't experience what I feel. I'm like, oh! Yeah. And that captures Shadow. In the end, it does. Because he's been suffering. He's essentially suffered for 50 years of the loss of his friend Maria. And...
well, it's good where, like, in the first build-up for the film, like, you get the Maria scenes where, like, you see his emotion, you see how emotional he is with Maria, like, he's open to having conversations with Maria compared to, like, everybody else again. Okay, and then it finally happens again. Oh, I know what that stings. I know what that stings. That's gonna hurt.
Yeah. Oh, can't remember. Yeah, in the Shadow the Hedgehog game, they do get into the Maria backstory. They do, yeah. Because I played it a bit. I did play the Shadow the Hedgehog game a bit, but I didn't own the game. I played it around people's houses. I played Sonic Adventure 2, which is Shadow's first game, which is, of course, the whole Live and Learn song came from. When that came on in the theatre, you were familiar with the song, but nostalgia hit me like a train.
Yeah.
There were kids in the cinema that were just like, oh, cool, Sonic and Shadow are working together, and there's me in the corner like, oh, yes! And I just love it. It is amphitheatre. The amphitheatre. You're watching something with others to just not only just relish in the theatre, the fun in front of you, but to engage with the reactions around you as well, and just absorb the whole atmosphere. It's just something that I live for as a person. The dramatization of ecstasy and joy.
Well, you get that sort of community as well in cinema. Like when a film's good and everyone's rooting behind the heroes or protagonists or something, and that you see the fantasy, and sometimes films that good that the cinema kind of goes, way they're going, oh sweet.
You never get that with a TV show.
No,
you can't. You can maybe get your whole family going, oh, that was delightful, wasn't it? What a delightful twist. When it's a cinema, you're just like, yeah, chicken jockey.
Yeah.
No, we won't get that. But that's I just love it, man. I do. And as a person, I think it tells a lot about me, the sort of films I like, and the getting lost in the whole creative world. It's something I stand for as a person, and it's something that many people are very picky with. Some of that I've known some people in my life that are very, very, very picky with films, and they get, and no fault of their own, very bored in some of the films, and they prefer TV episodic things. Films aren't for everyone. I get it. Some of these other people in my life, like, they were very hard to impress with films, so I didn't bother. But it's just sometimes people don't get the buzz of just this finite joy of 2 to 3 hours of just this brand new world. It is a complete, not only do you get lost in it, it is a physical separation from the outside world. The darkness, the surround sound, the music. I absolutely love the music. And on that, I'll dive into another beautiful soundtrack of, please don't laugh, Kung Fu Panda. Yeah, I told you not to fucking laugh. Hans Zimmer, one of, if not the best composers of our time. Oh my God. Music tells a story. It does. Classical music, orchestrated music, or day-to-day music with every type of genre out there. But I'm talking the film soundtracks here, which are just my favourite type of music of all time. Because when I'm in the cinema, I listen. I don't just watch, I listen. I absorb all and use all of the senses, apart from taste, which is very weird. That will be very weird if you're doing that, unless you're eating snacks. But that's not part of the movie. But one of my favourite soundtracks of Hans Zimmer is Poe Finds the Truth.
No, I don't think
I'd heavily recommend it. It's Poe Finds the Truth, and what else? What is the other one? Damn, I'm gonna look it up in a minute. It's the soundtrack in the final fight of the second film as well. Oh God, I'm gonna kick myself. What's the soundtrack in the second fight called? Damn, I do want to look that up. I will look that up in a minute. So I will do a cut. But I will go back to Poe Finds the Truth. Because it's a journey. In the film, it is him trying to rediscover his backstory. And the whole point of the film is inner peace. You will not break that barrier of physical strength and have full mastery of your abilities if you are not at peace with yourself.
Yeah.
And Poe, throughout the whole movie, was just like, haha, I'm Funny Panda. I like food. I am at peace with myself. And then you have real sincere moments where the environment around him is just like, no, you don't know who you are. You never knew who your parents were. Why did your parents abandon you? And why do you keep getting PTSD of this villain every time that you see him? And then you get to that moment in the film where he just tries to focus.
It is clever for a kids film to do that, because like to be able to do that in real life is so skilled. Like even I'm even on this journey right now. You're there going, you know, how do I get comfortable? How do I project out properly for a kids film to hit that point kind of early for when the films are coming out and when the kids are going out? Was like, that's impressive. You know, that's not an easy subject to kind of go, because like a lot of people do mask it in the fact of like, I'm really joyful sort of thing, and then you know, occasionally they'll drop a comment and they're going, "You okay, dude? Like, you sure?"
Yeah.
And and then you kind of have some more conversations. They put the mask on again, and like another comment comes down, and then eventually the mask comes off, and you know, sometimes someone will just break down in front of you. They're going,
Oh.
I have to be ready to sort of deal with this conversation. And you know, seeing someone come to terms with, oh God, I am flawed in this way and that way, and then seeing them kind of go, okay, I am flawed in this way and that way, but I'm better for it, sort of thing. So you know, this is good.
That.
Yeah.
It's not an easy lesson to learn.
No,
that all the attributes of yourself aren't what make you fail. They are what make you succeed. You just don't know how to use them to make you succeed yet, which is why you perceive them as failure. And it's human. You can't. Not one person is able to be full inner peace control of themselves from the moment that they're born. It is possible, 100% possible, to have complete inner peace. It is very difficult, and this is coming from someone who is on that journey right now to attempt to find inner peace. And I have to walk that journey alone. Having that help of people around me does really help. Yeah. And I would continue to recommend that. But going back on what you said, and what I was saying before of this film, to find out who you are and to find out all of the pain and the hurt and the suffering that you never realized had hold of you, until you feel it, and all you want to do in that moment is just weep and cry. And again, in this movie, like in this scene, they go, don't fight that. Don't fight the pain. Yeah. Let it flow. Let it realize, who were you from that moment of pain onwards? Who were you in between those moments? If those moments didn't happen, you would not be the man or the woman or the person that you are today. And then it flashes through all of I remember the previous the loving moments, and the music just kicks it up a notch. And I'm just like, oh, this is so lovely. And then they realize that I know who I am. I know that this pain makes me who I am, and I will not let it dictate my failure. I will let it dictate a new victory. Yeah. And it did. And when you relate that to real life, it's easier said than done. It is. In a film, it has to tell it within a small amount of time, 2 hours, you know? Yeah. So sometimes the character progression has to be a little bit more logical and fictitious, you know? That's an oxymoron in itself, logical and fictional, you know? Logical in terms of fiction, begging pardon. But when it comes to real life, realizing those moments, it is a long burn. It is. And you need others to help you. You do. And it is never the end. It is never, ever the end, you know?
There's a quote that I always come back to where, like, well, there's a quote that sort of rings in my head a minute where, like, you know, a man or woman is only as strong as the people around him. Like, that's very true. And, like, again,
I like that quote.
Yeah. Again, you don't need a lot. You don't need a lot of people. But the people you do need to have around you have got to be decent people. Otherwise, you are stuffed.
I said this,
Like on like multiple occasions, like when things get tough and they're not around you, they're going, "Oh, I need help. I'm struggling." They're not around there because they buggered off. That's not policy.
I'll be vulnerable here. It's the first vulnerability of the next half of the phase. Let's go. I really rely on that. I do as a person. I rely on social interaction and the help of others. When I struggle, I try to reach out, not in a very direct way and say like help. It's just
no one does.
No, it's just in a social interaction, you know, just to know someone's there.
Yeah.
To not feel alone. I hate feeling alone. I do. It's probably my biggest worry. The biggest thing that existentially weighs me down as a person. The fear of being alone. And when I message people, it is just to see how they're doing and to also calm myself and realise they're still there. They're not going anywhere, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're social creatures by nature. Like, to be alone is torture. Like, what's it called? I can't remember. Solitary confinement. Like, to be at that, if that sums up being alone, generally speaking, then to be alone is generally torture. Like, you need people around you.
Yeah. Lockdown was tough, man. It was so tough. Like, having people message me was very well, but I needed that physicality of someone in front of me, you know?
Yeah.
To be around, to have the real raw reactions. And I've learned that verbal communication through full body language and expressions tells you more about a person and what you need to know from a conversation than a text or a phone call will ever do.
Yeah.
And the constant reliability on that and the communication via that. If I want to have an important chat with someone, I will say, we're not doing this through text.
Yeah.
You meet up with me.
Yeah, I've noticed that recently, like, doing online sort of conversations is a pain in the ass because it always feels like you could find a certain amount of words. Sometimes you don't get the context you're after in a text message. And then sometimes you can write a full paragraph and be like, geez, this is nuts. Someone's not going to read this and skip this.
We've been there.
Yeah. And, like, you know, it's caused arguments in the past where something's been out of context and then a group will dissipate and then all of a sudden you get the context as they're going, oh, hang on, I understand.
Sorry, excuse me.
Yeah, like, the importance of human interaction is so much greater now in this age.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, it's like, oh, we got phones. Yeah. But we got faces too. They're better.
Real.
Yeah.
This is just, you know, getting lost in technology is not a bad thing. It's innovation. It's immersion. Without the way that technology is advancing, we wouldn't be getting cinema. We wouldn't be getting the advancements that we would be getting. We wouldn't. Do you remember 3D movies?
Oh yeah.
3D movies. I don't know. A lot of the people that watch the podcast would know what a 3D movie is.
They still do
them. IMAX. IMAX still use the 3D glasses. If I'm not mistaken.
I haven't seen a 3D movie in ages.
Nah, the last 3D movie that I watched was the Lego Batman movie. That was the last 3D movie that I watched. I feel like they're going to try and do something new with that sort of stuff. Anyways, it's the cameras and the wide angles and the lenses and that sort of stuff.
God damn it.
And technology, we wouldn't have cinema the way it is now without it. And kit and microphones and all of that stuff and the internet as well. And script writers messaging stuff around the world as well, making communication much easier rather than writing a script by hand, drawing an animated movie by hand. Now we got a computer to help us do it as well. Look, all of that is good, and it will continue to be good. It's just all of the bits in between. We are a curious species, and that is such a blessing, because look at where we are now with our advancements. But also, it's a double-edged sword. Look at where we are now as a species. Like, curiosity makes us idle, I'd say, to all of the stuff in between, and we latch on to one of those things that relates to us, and then that's a different strand, and then we can get lost in that. It's like a big main river, and little streams just fly off of it, and sometimes the boat goes down the stream and it can't go back upstream to the river for a very long time, you know?
Yeah, I'll probably say something now, like, I speak about communication, and I think it's relevant, like, a lot of people right now sort of walk around in ecospheres of, like, who they agree with and all that sort of stuff, and it's like, great, talk to someone you don't agree with. You know, as much as you may not agree with them in philosophy and foundation and various other principles, and you can have a debate or whatever, but kind of find out the person behind that way of thinking, kind of find out who they are. You may not understand what they say, you may not have may not even be able to properly relate to them. That's okay.
Yeah.
You can agree to disagree. People have forgotten that, and then we'll just bind each other's heads off. It's like, no. For us to be better as a species, we need to communicate more and have debates, proper debates, without biting each other's heads off.
That's a whole
thing
altogether, isn't it? And
everyone's there going, "Oh, I did it." It's like, dude, shut up.
I had this conversation.
Let's try something different.
Yeah, I had this conversation with someone recently, and it was quite philosophical. But I got it down to three. Things. You got to have the people that speak up, the people that know when to push a button when needed to.
Yeah,
this is how I'm trying to nail it down. You know, like the people know when to defend. The person that knows when to push a button, like close a door, prevent something from happening, be the one that takes action. So you've got the verbal action, the physical action, but then you've got the mental action. And this is when I spoke up and I said, you got to have the people that are there to take others away from this sort of stuff. You need the safe zone. It's so important in a world like today that you have those creative visionaries, the experts and the lovers of the immersive experience to give agency in all of these digital worlds. With I say agency because limitations are needed. We could, rules are meant to keep us safe.
Yeah.
I'm not saying to keep us controlled, to keep us safe. And because if people are on the battlefield all the time of debates and all of this nonsense, then it just gets a nightmare. And it is the biggest advice I can give. Every once in a while, when you're experiencing this and your own personal endeavors and your own personal warfare and your own personal life, you need a break. And in that time, you need to find that someone or that something that you can get lost in, that creative thing, not a habit. There are many habits that are dangerous. A hobby, a creative thing. This is where I'm going with this. I'm going back to cinema, because cinema is something that someone can use to escape the world briefly. Yes, there are movies that give commentary on the way that the world is, and mostly because we need something to relate to in this world to get to it. But for that moment in time, it's that person, that director's, those actors' duties to take on the mantle of the audience member and just for a brief moment of time, just clear their woes, take them all away and say, look, come here. This is this world. Just get lost in it, you know?
Yeah,
and that's what I stand for. That's what I believe and I hope I will be.
Well, even like even just going out to the cinema, like there's like the before and afters of that cinema. Like sometimes you share a pint before going to cinema, or you'll have dinner after the film, or you'll have dinner before the film and enjoy the film sort of thing, and then you have a conversation after going out to the cinema. Like it's not just cinema as a whole. Like the whole interaction just to go there is kind of healthy.
Yeah,
like, it becomes a hobby just because it's sociable in that sense.
Yes. And it's just so pure that there are people that can still do it. And this will be a future episode that we talk about the direction that cinema is going in now. And I'm really glad with the way, in hindsight, that this conversation has evolved and just shown how passionate that you and I are about cinema and what it stands for, what we love about it. And to quickly conclude that thing about the music as well, it's just another thing. It's just another thing that adds to the flavour of it and takes you away and sings that song of a narrative that you oh so love. And it makes sure that it's so everything is deliberate. It's there to just make you happy and to teach you things. And yeah, some films are meant to be mind-numbing, but that's still part of the immersive experience, you know?
Yeah, I mean, Die Hard is probably like action film, but like not really think too much, but it's still a good film sort of thing.
The Godzilla movies for me, the Monsterverse movies.
Yeah.
Like Godzilla versus Kong. It's a big lizard fighting a big monkey. That's it. There's no morals there. It's just a fight I'm here for. I want to see a big fight.
Yeah.
You know?
Pacific Rim.
Yeah, I remember you really like that movie, don't you?
Yeah.
I weirdly, as a Transformers fan, I found that I didn't really like it.
Oh, interesting.
I didn't.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I think it's just the realism of it was good with how slow the machines were.
Yeah.
I think that's what bored me.
Oh, really?
I think it's what bored me because the Transformers was quick, like
it's funny,
big mechanical, whereas just that Gypsy Danger was like,
it was just sort of slow motion.
Yeah, I was like,
yeah. It's 5 minutes, you throwing a punch, what's going on?
And then the whole thing at the end when they're just like fighting the monsters and then they conveniently found out where the monsters came from, jumped into the home, blew it up, and I was just like, yo, we won. Then the sequel came along. Like,
what?
You pulled an Independence Day 2.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Independence Day 2. Oh, that was not a good film. That was the first ever film that I watched in IMAX. The first ever film. It was not an experience. It was cool. Because I went to IMAX to go watch one of my stop motion short films on the IMAX screen because of college. It was really cool. And then the IMAX staff allowed our sort of like year group, a media studies and film studies group, stay and watch Independence Day 2. And we're like, oh yeah, this is great. Big blockbuster movie. And Independence Day 2 absolutely sucked. It did. It was just the definition of mind-numbing blockbuster with no regard for plot, but not only that, no regard for the previous movie's plot as well.
Was it a massive budget, if I remember correctly?
Incredibly massive budget.
Just for the sake of budget, sort of.
Yeah.
I remember.
Like some of the previous characters weren't in it, and some of the previous characters that were in it from the previous movie weren't in it for long.
Yeah.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, poke, poke.
Yeah.
Yes, that's how they went out.
Yeah.
And then what do? they do the exact same movie again, just on a larger scale. It ends exactly the same way. And then the ending is just like a big setup for a potential third movie. And at the end, I was just like,
why? Yeah, I think they've got to make sense, haven't they? It's like you got to make sense to make a sequel, or just have a one film standalone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think. Is there anything else you want to talk about? Because I feel like this is. We're sort of getting there, aren't we?
Yeah.
This is a good introduction to the agenda, isn't it?
Yeah, a lot more free flowing.
I felt like it was. I can't necessarily remember what is up next for the cinema agenda. I should have looked before that.
Is it even have we even got a cinema agenda? I thought it was one, and then we go on to the next one now. It's kind of weird.
There's more.
Is it?
Hold up,
okay.
this is going to be cut. We're back. Yes, so episode 15. What are we going to be talking about? We're going to be talking about the world of sequels, because Disney seem to be doing a lot of them. That's a lot of them. And we're going to talk about the sequels that do work and the sequels that don't. Whereas today was just a general exploration about us and our experience of cinema and what we take from it. It will very much be flowing the same way as well. We'll be talking about us and the sequels that we enjoy, and we'll use them as a commentary on why we believe a continuation in a story is a good thing, and why sometimes it should just be left alone.
John Wick 2. What?
You like John Wick 2?
John Wick 2. Yeah.
John Wick 2. Ooh. It's diverse, because many people like the John Wick sequels, but some of them don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I quite like the added lore to it.
I know you like the John Wick sequels. I do. As a preview, I like John Wick 1 and 2. John Wick 3 and 4, I had my issues with.
Oh, yeah, I think that's
did.
fair. I think 3 was his weakest. 4 was alright with the conclusion. That's sort of.
4
where 5 goes.
4 just got too wacky for me.
Yeah,
it got too wacky, and 3 was just a bit boring. Which was such a shame, because it was such a good setup in John Wick 2. But we'll get into that in episode 15. So stay tuned to then. Now I can finally say this. Every Saturday at 7 p.m, we're back, baby. And stay tuned for some Me Time Bites as well. And they'll probably be sporadic during the week. They'll be up when they're up, and then we'll update you when they're up, guys.
Yeah. They're going to be sort of coming in occasionally, sort of some interesting conversations we've had in the past. Condensed down.
Just to give some flavour during the week, it will be nice to just maybe give a random upload here and there. Yeah. And then look, that's just like a 4-minute conversation for me to watch in the week. Yeah, that's very good. Yeah. Apart from a hour and 30-minute episode that you can expect to see on YouTube and Spotify. Yeah. This episode is on Spotify now. It released at the same time. Because if you watched the Green and Keen announcement, which not many of you did, but that's okay, you'll know we're on Spotify. Yeah. Hell yeah.
Gotta find it. Apparently it's quite hard to find it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh. What?
Yeah.
But we've been doing...
I know. I was told a couple of weeks ago, I was like, I'm an injury. No, it's not working. Oh, crap. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
Direct my way.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, it's on Spotify as well.
No, just type in Me Time. And because there's a lot of other Me Times, I'd recommend you type in the episode title as well. So go on YouTube, look at the episode title, type in that. And I've tried to shorten those titles down to make them more noticeable on Spotify for you guys as well. But it's still a work in progress. And they, on Spotify, actually sound okay. You know? Yeah. Lovely old job. Cool.
Yeah, nice.
And it's been about a month since I've done this. So I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. I now live on this sofa, as does Elliot. So we will see you in the next one.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Can't believe you were in the intro.